welcome back, folks, to the WP-Tonic Wednesday interview show. It's episode 310. Yes, folks, the episodes are just flying by. And, folks, I've got a real special guest for you. He's a real entrepreneur. He knows his stuff. And that is Spencer Forman. Spencer, would you like to quickly introduce yourself to the listeners and viewers?
Absolutely, and thank you for having me, and good morning to you and Kim. Spencer Forman, I'm at WP-Launchify.com, and basically we help entrepreneurs who use WordPress for their businesses to combine WordPress with marketing automation using their favorite CRM. And what's exciting is that this is a development that has come about recently from all the other experiences helping freelancers, because it's only recently that you can connect WordPress and your favorite CRM. And that's what I hope we'll talk about today.
Oh, yes, we're going to delve into it. And I've got my great co-host, Kim. Would you like to quickly introduce yourself to the listeners and viewers?
Absolutely. I'm Kim Shivler, and I'm a communications strategist and instructional design consultant, focusing right now on soft skills as opposed to technology, where I've been for many years.
Right, before we go into the main meat of the interview, I just want to quickly mention our main sponsor, and that's Kingster Hosting. And what can I say about Kingster Hosting? We host the WP-Tonic website with Kingster. I've got some of my clients on Kingster, and they are just amazing. It's an amazing speed, reliability, great customer support. They know their stuff, and their UX design of their interface is just the best in the business. Plus, you get all the bells and whistles. If you're a developer, you get a staging site that just really works. Backups that you can retrieve just with one click, and they are really superb. If you're looking for the latest version of PHP, you don't have to wait 3 months. You can just select it in the interface, and they're just amazing. So if you're looking for a great hosting WordPress solution, go to Kingster for yourself or for your clients. There's banners on the WP-Tonic website. There are affiliate links. And if you use those, you'll be helping yourself and also the show. So straight into it, Spencer. So
let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's do it. So in your notes that you sent me, you said that One-Direction marketing is dead.
It's dead.
Dead, finished.
Dead.
Finished.
Like a horse and buggy.
Yes, there we go. So would you like to expand on that comment, actually?
Right. And I sent you a notes, 5 simple slides, but the basic premise is this. There was an old graph, I don't know what it's called, but it's called the adoption cycle, and it looks like a bell curve, and at the bottom are all these early adopters, then people get on board, and then at some point on camera, you get to the point where you've reached tipping, and that's when your mom or your uncle or somebody knows what it is. By the time you get to the bottom, we're done. All the things that have happened in the WordPress ecosystem, as well as in online business ecosystem, have kind of taken that path. In particular, one-directional email marketing, and that would be things like, I'm not picking them up because they're doing a great job, but things like an Aweber or a MailChimp, where somebody gives their name for a newsletter, and then you send them either one or a series of emails that are just the same for just about everybody. And granted, there are some choices people can make in the actual email automation to decide what they get, but for the most part, the journey of that person is the same as the last person. Almost like if you dumped ping pong balls into one of those pachinko ball machines, they're going to land in a bell curve every time. Marketing automation, on the other hand, allows you to handcraft a journey for each individual through your marketing funnel based upon their actions. But the real trick, the thing that puts the knife in the back of one-way email marketing, is that when you can connect your CRM now to WordPress, you have a two-way magical connection that allows you to, from either end, control the journey and respond to the person's journey so that you waste nobody's time or attention, and everybody gets this experience that feels almost like you're dealing with the person who knows you. It's a little scary, but it's undeniably the only way to go now. And once people have experienced that, traditional email, I mean, ask yourself, how often do you want to sign up for a newsletter anymore today? I mean, it's just another email. So that is what is the proverbial knife in the back of traditional one-way email marketing. And there are more than 17 CRMs now fighting it out, like Rocky Balboa, for who's going to get the market share of the 19,500,000 WordPress sites that currently make up that 30% of the internet usage.
Yes. Got a question, Kim?
I do. When you talked about the CRMs, can you connect this to any CRM, or is it just kind of the big players right now that you'd be able to connect the two?
Right now, any of the CRMs that use tags and fields, but the simplicity of this, and don't get me wrong, this is going to be a feature that will become de facto standard. I mean, I'm not discussing this like, wow, whiz-bang, somebody has a patent on this. We work with Jack Arturo at WP Fusion, and his plugin is metaphorically doing the same kind of things. He was on your show a couple weeks ago, doing the same kind of things like maybe in the SaaS space Zapier is doing. Zapier has a man-in-the-middle situation, which, again, guarantees that they will hold a position. What Jack is doing is based upon his being really receptive, responsive, first mover kind of thing, and being able to connect right now more than 17, I think it's up to 19 CRMs. So as long as they use tags and custom fields, or in some cases events, they can be connected and will be. What we're finding in practice, the cream floats to the top. So there's 4 or 5 that are at the top, and the rest are long tail out for very specific use. So most of the CRM makers have actually been reaching out directly to ask Jack to connect to them, or we've interacted with them. And some specialized ones, for example, that we use ourselves is one called Tubular, which is just really a sales CRM. Its specialty happens to be that you can have recurring revenue and track the individual components, whereas a lot of CRMs can't do that. But it's not really good for doing things like an Active Campaign or an Infusionsoft would do, which is traditional automation. So it is neat. But on the other side of the equation, I got ahead of myself of your question. On the WordPress side of things, it connects any of more than 47 WordPress plugins right now, plus WordPress, through tags and fields. So now you've got like Lego blocks. Any of the WordPress pieces plus your favorite parts of the CRM can all be chosen, stacked together. Goodbye to the limitations of Infusionsoft's problems, and I am picking on them in particular. Goodbye to some of the other things, and you can take the best of this with the best of that and make your own mix without any coding required.
You talking about Confusionsoft?
Oh, I would never say that. I can't imagine why a company with such a great user base and head start would quadruple their pricing on people. I mean, why would you do that when there's 18 people in line behind you to compete for you? It doesn't. I can't imagine.
I could never imagine that myself. There we go. So number 2, a CRM is the brain, and WordPress is the body of your business.
Indeed. So one of the things that you can relate to, and I've heard you speak to this, and Kim speaks to this, the number one pain point of the existing WordPress ecosystem. Again, thousands upon thousands of site build-outs and clients, customers. You were one of my early clients in the old days. You had to pick which plugin is going to control my whole thing, right? Because one plugin has to be the one that onboards the user, starts, maybe keeps their subscription, works with the gateway. And if worst comes to worst, let's say I'm going to name one that I like. There's a good membership plugin called MemberPress. If you had decided to go with MemberPress, and I do like them, guess what? If you ever want to move, MemberPress does not create the actual subscription in Stripe. So if you want to move and swap to, say, WooCommerce memberships, really hard because you have to extricate people, have a huge churning event, reset everybody up, and hope and believe that they're going to come back. Whereas if you put the CRM as the brains in the sky, you can eliminate almost all of the reliance upon any one particular component in WordPress as being that like owning you element. And instead, you have literally snap in, snap out capabilities. The only exception to that, and we recommend this not because it's my favorite in the world, but because it's just a logical thing, is we kind of recommend using WooCommerce as your Velcro dartboard, even if you're not using it as a shop. And here's why. Automatic owns it. It's got millions upon millions of users. But more importantly, everything in the WordPress ecosystem seems to connect to WooCommerce. It smooths out a lot of stuff. So if you're going to have one thing that at least takes the people's money, we recommend use WooCommerce with Stripe Gateway, and then at least you're not likely to have to unplug it for any good reason, or you can work around it. Other than that, membership, LMS, gamification, content protection, whatever you want to do, we just say use the particular tool for the particular function and none of the other stuff like you used to have to do it. Let the CRM manage that instead.
So we're on the Wednesday show, because obviously I do 2 podcasts. I do Mail Right, which is a Wednesday interview show, and then I do my round table, Spencer, on Fridays. But we have emphasis on membership and learning management systems. So where do you think automation can really help somebody who's in the e-learning, is an e-learning entrepreneur, to really help them sell their courses and market themselves?
Right. Well, absolutely. I'm opinionated on this because...
Only a small question, Spencer.
I know. No, it's an easy one because in this case, I have a very... You know me a long time, but I have a definitive opinion or I wouldn't be here. We're finding 2 types of use cases, 2 types of users. There are those who are consultants and those who are end users. Those who are consultants are typically coming from the CRM side of things, and they have clients who are struggling to build membership or online training sites. And with the combination of a fight between the CRMs, the SaaS online all-in-one tools, and WordPress, they're struggling because they don't want to put their clients into a box or make a mistake, and the client's also getting a lot of anecdotal information from, you know, upstream of their friends. So they're stuck because they feel like they made their bed with one or the other, you know, and now they don't have to make that choice. They can use the components for e-learning or whatever that are best in class to match the client. On the other side are the end users. Those end users are coming to us, again, very open-minded, but, oh, I heard this was good or that was good. And more often than not, what we're saying is, look, same pattern. Brains up in the satellite, or the brains are up in the skull, and the body or the planet is the WordPress ecosystem. And after listening to what your use cases are like, I have a small product that sells itself versus a high ticket one-time sale. Pick a CRM or recommend one for them, and then say, here's the stack of stuff to use. Either way, online training and online classwork has never been more in demand. In fact, I think more often than not, the clients that were otherwise in a real world business are just throwing in the towel and going right to online because there's no overhead. You can pivot quite easily. And the tools have become so mature and people are expecting it that it's a really, really great way to just sell all kinds of new ideas.
Yeah, got a question, Kim?
I do. If the CRM is going to be the big brain, which I like, could we not have the CRM manage the payments? Because I do find that for some simpler options, WooCommerce is sometimes overkill for maintenance, et cetera, for what some of my smaller clients need.
100%. In fact, I'm glad you brought it up because you can actually, through webhooks and whatnot, you can actually connect directly to Stripe. Stripe's API can work directly in this case. You can also use, in most cases, if the CRM is equipped with it. Again, I say this conditionally because, for example, a lot of people are not so happy with the way that the checkout forms on Infusionsoft works, but there's other ways to sell through a CRM. Either way you do it, here's how it works in practical terms, because we didn't really get to. The magic of this is whatever sells the thing you're selling, product, service, subscription, one time, adds a tag. And in most cases, we'll add some field data like the price, the date, what it does. Most often than not, that tag is then automatically synchronized to the WordPress site via WP Fusion and now gives access, either changing the CSS, changing which page content is visible, changing what access somebody has, because all the WordPress components in WordPress are respecting and looking for the tag. So the tags act as an on-off light switch. The various plugins respond accordingly. And then if you need clarification, the fields can be used as sort of the clarification, right? If somebody paid more than $180, let them see this, but don't let them see that. But be sure to send them an on-screen notification that says they should probably buy the higher priced product right now, and so forth. The brains of that allow the CRM to say, email automation, on-screen notification, text message, or change the state of what's going on the WordPress experience.
I like that.
Magic.
Yeah, it sounds like it. I use a really specialized CRM. I bet it's not. I'm going to have to look into tying it in, but I'm very interested.
On the front of WP Fusion, Jack is constantly updating the icons. He added a new one yesterday that is a specialized sales one from Great Britain. So the icons are there, but more than any of the other WordPress developers I've worked with over the years, and I've helped a lot of the bigger names, Jack is extremely responsive because the plugin itself is a very simple function. It is not trying to be all things to all people. And so as a result, he's able to very quickly adapt new CRMs and other WordPress plugins to work with it.
Right, we're going to go for our break. When we come back, we're going to delve some more into this amazing world of email and automation and CRMs. We'll be back in a few moments, folks. Right, we're coming back. We've had a great discussion. I don't normally do this, but I'm going to do this for this episode, is that I'm going to do another sponsor advert, and that is for our new sponsor, which is WP Fusion. Basically, as Spencer has been saying, WP Fusion is just freaking amazing. It enables you to communicate through tags with your popular CRM and not be entrapped, and gives you the flexibility to move around and gives you the flexibility to do all the amazing things that we're going to be discussing during this show. So also, Jack, the main developer of WP Fusion, has given us an amazing special offer, which is only available through this show. If you go to WP Fusion and you use the coupon code WP-Tonic, all uppercase, you will get 25% off, and that is only offered through this show. So I suggest you get over there and buy a version of it and start using it. Right, back to the show, Spencer.
That's good.
Number 3, your business should be modular, not looked down on a closed platform. I love this one.
Indeed, indeed. And you've mentioned this on your show, but this is something I've been barking about since 2006, coming from an experience on a closed platform system, but then into WordPress. Again, the nature of how this all came about required somebody had to step up to be, hey, I'll onboard your users. Hey, I'll take their money. Hey, I'll manage the subscriptions. Because, you know, there were a few settlers in the early days of going out the Old West. But once everybody got out there, then there was, okay, the blacksmith and the general store. Let everybody do their unique thing. I know there are people who have marketing backgrounds who can use a Kartra or a Kajabi or one of these other, ClickFunnels, pre-made systems, and make tens of millions of dollars. Awesome. Nothing to do with this equation. What I'm saying is that if you're coming into the WordPress ecosystem at all, just go 100% of the way and don't commit yourself to an antiquated setup, which would lock you into something that you'd have to undo later. Look forward to what's already here on that. Remember, I was suggesting like that adoption curve, because in a very short order, mark my words, maybe we'll look back at a couple of years, all components of the WordPress ecosystem will have probably natively this USB-like connectivity to each other so that they could just trigger each other, work with each other. There's just no possible logic to the idea that they're all going to try to get market share anymore. It's just those days are gone. But as far as sharing tags and fields, now you can have a system, one brain that, by the way, you can swap, and any component you want, build it modular with the stack of stuff that works for you. And again, at Wplaunchify, what we often help is, again, cutting edge. We help people understand why they need to switch from one way to automation. We create all of the things like remodeling their kitchen, and then we usually give most people like the cooking lessons with their new kitchen so they can make amazing meals for their friends and business associates and family. So the whole process is smooth, but it's very inexpensive to get started relative to the immediate ROI, which is measurable. It's not, like I say, SEO, no offense to SEO, but SEO is spray and pray. You have no idea really what's happening. In ROI, you pour 100 ping pong balls into the top of your sales funnel. And if more come out with a $ on them now with the marketing automation, and you can see each exact journey, 100% where your ROI is, and you know what your user experience is like. And that's all that anybody could ever hope for in a business, especially online.
So with WP-Launchify, are you offering to obviously the consulting element, but you also, depending on the level of consultancy that clients buying in with you, that you will set up some of these landing pages for these funnels for them, and advise them what would be the best CRM to utilize in their particular case. Are we talking about that, Spencer?
That's a great question, and because
I do have the occasional one, Spencer.
You've had the occasion to know me. I used to teach freelance web designers how to make a living online, and I've also taught WordPress providers, people who do services, how to better match their products to the market needs and demands. Right now, WP-Launchify is actually, ironically, very, very limited in scope. We help people from the top of their funnel to the bottom of their funnel. We don't want to do copywriting or content creation for them. We want them to do it themselves. So what we do is really 3 simple things. Most people always start with a free phone call, and then that leads to maybe a consultation call to finalize what we would recommend for their stack. Most people are ordering off the same exact menu because, believe it or not, after 20,000 plus types of setups, everybody is using the same stuff. I mean, it's just that simple. Like, I have a white iPhone. There's probably a trillion white iPhones. It's what do I do with it? But the iPhone's still the same. And then finally, if we do set something up for somebody, it's the sales funnel mechanism plus the tagging recommendations plus connecting it to their choice of CRM that we recommend. But most people then take the final step, which is show me from the final result you put together for me backwards how you made that, so that I can then not be indebted to you forever. Having said that, however, we do find that because I have 40 years experience as an entrepreneur and online selling, and especially in the training space with clients, many people continue on with us in a retainer relationship because it's just easier. They see if I spend X dollars with you guys and I make 2 or 3 or 4 times X, I mean, I go to a barber, I pay somebody to clean my house. I mean, those are services to have an expert do the stuff for me, because put a nickel in, get a dime out makes financial sense. But we don't do website building anymore, although we can deliver it. We don't do design work because a robot can do that with a button. We do the marketing automation, particularly CRM plus WordPress, which is right now cutting edge. There's nobody you could look up in the phone book and say that. And ironically, the CRMs are all on a battlefield with themselves. Like, who's best, killing each other. And the WordPress ecosystem is a little nicer because kind of everybody knows who's got their little niche. But nobody has really woken up as of yet to, wow, these 2 worlds have now merged, and look at what it can do. And that's going to be the sort of aha moment that's maybe like original one-way email marketing was, when, wow, I can make a list. And if I have a list, I can have a news, and so forth.
If you can't do this, I totally understand, but is there kind of a small case study that you could share with the listeners and viewers that's in your mind recently that would really show the kind of benefit of using WP Fusion and also utilizing your consultancy services that comes to mind, Spencer?
I mean, indeed, we hear actually the same story. I had about 4 or 5 consulting calls over the weekend while I was going up to visit my kids at camp, and these are all over the phone. And I am not exaggerating when I say they were almost the exact same series of conversations. It is, I decided to use WordPress for my blankety blank training business, or I have one, I'll give 2 different examples. One person is in the bookkeeping space that is trying to do something that another one of my clients had done on a large scale. Second person was doing online training from Canada for OSHA compliance, and they had an amazing business that was already doing mid 6 figures. Neither one of them was keen to using marketing automation, so they had almost no specialization or personalized funnel from the top to the bottom. In both of those cases, the primary benefit that I could deliver to them was an aha moment that if you put 100 ping pong balls in from whatever you're spending your money and time on for marketing, this is your audience, we can convert more of those ping pong balls to buy your product at the end. So takeaway 1 is, it's now a greater percentage of conversions almost every time, which means that whatever you're spending on your business will get a better return. Number 2, it's removing as many possible things as you can. I can't believe the Frankenstein monsters that people build when they start experimenting in WordPress. I know you know what I'm talking about, but
I'm not going to pass any comment.
I know we've talked about it ourselves long years ago, but that's the beauty of using Legos, right? I have 3 boys. They have built some amazing things at home. And then you go to the mall at holiday season and there's this 500-foot Titanic made out of Legos. And you're like, oh my gosh, how did they do that? The problem is not with the blocks or the modularity. The problem is that somebody starting out needs to have a simpler block set so they can focus on the one goal, which is make more money by converting the audience you have in a greater number. And so those 2 things are universal use cases. It's just like literally, aha, I didn't realize that until I talked to you, but now you said that. I can't believe I wasted the last 6 months. Let's get going.
All right, it's great. Got a question, Kim?
I do. With all of the new things we have to do with privacy policies for GDPR and all, are there extra things we want to keep in mind with our privacy policies if we're going to this level of automation?
The only thing I can think of, which is really already taken care of by most people, I am an attorney, but I also sort of chuckle because I got, like all of us, I got 877,000 emails in that 2-week period. I rolled my eyes because this is like the cookie policy of a couple of years ago, remember?
Yes.
Aside from whether GDPR is just a red herring or not, I will say this, that anybody can accomplish most of what they need to do with just a very simple terms and conditions and privacy policy pages, and just make sure that when you sell anything, just a blanket statement in most cases will do the job that says, and here's the one caveat, we will actually be marketing to you based upon you individually, and consult your own lawyers. But in other words, unlike Google that made some kind of claim with Google Analytics, they won't track each individual. With marketing automation, that's the whole point. I need to know that I'm cooking you with your email, because otherwise, how do I know it's you? That's about the only thing that you can do, but it's so inconsequential to take care of that just a very simple paragraph in your normal, privacy terms of service pages should do. And ironically, I've never heard of one instance yet, and I'm not super knowledgeable here, but nobody's ever said that the EU has gone off and made an example of anybody on this, and I doubt that they would. It's more of a, hey, everybody be nice here because we want to make sure the public is not being robbed or cheated or something.
Oh, that's great. We're going to wrap up the podcast part of the show. Hopefully, Spencer's going to agree to stay on for about 10 to 15 minutes, and we discuss this really interesting topic some more. I've got an announcement about me and Kim. Kim has decided that she's going to do her own podcast, which is going to be focused around the business community in Florida, and she won't have the time to help me with this show, but we're parting still as friends, and she will be coming on the Friday show, just like one of my other co-hosts, and Bill's still a friend. It's just it's rather time-consuming podcasting, and life gets in the way a bit, doesn't it, Kim?
It absolutely does. And I'm doing more on-site client work, which is why you see me out in my car right now. Particularly for me on East Coast time. This is lunchtime for me, so breaking that up is sometimes difficult when clients are calling. And I need clients to be calling, so I will miss I will miss our Wednesday shows, but I will make Fridays whenever I can.
Yeah, it's just a bit more easier, the Friday show, isn't it? Because you haven't got a week-to-week commitment on that. You can just come in on whatever Friday you want to, can't you, Kim?
Yes, exactly.
But Kim, I just wanted to say thank you so much for agreeing to be my co-host and being the intelligent one in our interviews as well. And bailing me out on my long-winded questions, which could be in 7 parts, can't they? Actually.
Sometimes. Well, thank you for having me as a co-host. It's been a lot of fun.
It's been a blast, and hopefully we'll continue our friendship, and you'll come on the Friday show as well. That'd be great, Kim. So, folks, we're going to end the podcast part. So, Spencer, how can people contact you and find out more what you're up to, Spencer?
Really simple. The website is at WP-Launchify.com, and you'll notice when you get there, there's only one page because it just says, let's talk. You click and you go schedule a time for free on Calendly that works for you. For some people, I end up talking for a few minutes, answer their questions, fill in the blanks. For other people, they get so excited at what they're learning that we end up talking for a longer time. There's no time limit, there's no obligation, but I found, having selling people since I was 10 years old, marketing is in my blood, that the only way to really help people is to learn from them what is going on. So I look at this as a reciprocal benefit. My time in talking to people for free pays me in numerous ways, not the least of which is that I understand more closely what is wrong with people that is a pain point I can solve. And I mean, that's any business's best opportunity, right? So I encourage anybody, even if it's sort of remotely related to marketing automation, just pop on over WP-Launchify.com, or you can use help@WP-Launchify.com. Just say you heard me on the show and you have some questions about marketing automation or your WordPress. And I'll point you in the right direction either way. I have no particular financial benefit with Jack and WP Fusion for recommending him, but as I mentioned, Jack is at the leading edge of this thing. So in most cases with marketing automation, we do really actually use it. In fact, my relationship with him started because we found his product and we sort of said, holy cow, where have you been for the last 5 years?
Yeah. I was highly influenced because Jack, he just seems a great developer and a very great, straightforward business WordPress business owner, and he was highly recommended to me by Chris from Lifter LMS.
Indeed, right.
And they've done some work together. I am reasonably fussy about what sponsors I take on because they only cover the running costs of the podcast, really, Spencer. It's kind of loose change, but I don't want to recommend stuff and services that I don't really believe in, and I truly do believe in WP Fusion, right? So I think I'm going to wrap up the podcast part of the show. If you really want to help the show, folks, there's two things you can do. You can Twitter out that you've heard about WP Fusion, or Kingster. That would really help. And if you're really in a charitable, supportive mindset, go to iTunes and give us a review. It really does help the show a lot, and it helps me get really quality guests on the show. We'll see you next week where we'll have somebody doing something interesting in WordPress, membership, or online marketing in general. We'll see you next week, folks. Bye. So on to the bonus content. I really was interested in your views of how yours personally, because you've got an enormous amount of experience, Spencer. You really are an entrepreneur. Now, there's some other people in the WordPress community that are heavy hitters, but they haven't run any businesses themselves. You have, and you've made a good living by doing it. So how do you see the WordPress ecosystem going recently? Got any kind of views and insights?
Oh, I do indeed. And it is interesting. The one thing that in the early days in 2006 and so forth that was unsure for everybody was how is this going to fall out? Because we were coming off of a lot of the Microsoft licensing scheme software deals and stuff of the 90s. And so what I see now more than anything is that the ecosystem is like any natural ecosystem. There's a million different niches, but as soon as something evolves, it creates 10 more niches or spin-offs. And so if somebody has the mindset to be, let's say, as we just talked about, observing and discussing with the customers, there's so many opportunities that arrive. And so right now, in my case, I enjoy being the Rosetta Stone between the customers and the new technology. One of my other businesses is, Promote WP, where we create the content for a lot of the plugin authors and the other businesses. And I won't name the names that you've seen or heard me. If you run around, you probably hear my voice. But in doing that, it's because I like to be between those two worlds where I can translate what the heck does this mean for you as a business owner, because the business owner has a million other things to worry about, and you can't go in the phone book and just look up, expert in such and such. And that also applies to the SaaS companies. We're seeing those worlds now come together in a way that nobody really does believe in their heart that they're going to control all of the users anymore. I think we're all starting to see that everybody will have their specialty and they will need to connect with the other ones, and that being in that position is more advantageous than the fight over I'm going to get all the users and keep them because they're going to be locked in my platform. So I see that interoperability and niches being developed around the new technology.
before I bring Kim back in, we had Matt from the Matt Report podcast on our roundtable show last Friday. Hopefully you will agree to come on it as well. I love you as a guest.
Sure, I'd love to be.
And he's done about 4 or 5 videos that have just been, been superb about his views around, and he's somebody that I really respect, like yourself, intellectually and your insights, basically. But he's been saying, you got Gutenberg coming, you got the page builders. He hints that, Automatic and through the Alamat, saying they want 50% of the whole of the web platform, sites, which I think is totally unachievable, really. But there we go. But he hints that he thinks that they're going to use Jetpack as a land grab and really kind of attack WordPress.org in a way. What do you think about that?
It's interesting because you mentioned Jetpack, which is like the name that shall not be mentioned.
I can't stand it myself.
Okay, so here's what I think. I think that
it keeps me busy. It keeps my developers busy.
I think, it would be foolish for anybody to bet against Matt Mullenweg, because he's demonstrably one of the best and smartest guys that I've ever met, especially given that the product is an open source. So he is the Tom Sawyer of CEOs. Everybody's painting this fence for all these years, and I think to everybody's benefit. So those arguments and gripes, I think, of old days are well established and settled, that he's got an altruistic goal, but he's still making money for the company, as he should be. So I think that whether they get to 40, 50, 60% or more is besides the point. They've already gotten 30%. And so everybody I speak to, even a normal business owner, understands WordPress. They've heard of it. The difference in terms of what Jetpack does is that my only minor gripe would be, and it affects me in no way, is that sometimes people just have Jetpack forced upon them by either their hosting company or by a third-party service. And I think that's possibly a little less in the spirit of what really the open source is supposed to be for the rest of everybody, because if you did that as a private person, you'd probably be removed from the repository. So that would be about the only thing that I would say doesn't sound so great. But hey, listen, was that thing with Caesar, the do unto Caesar or something. They built the whole platform. It's theirs. They get to do that. And I don't think it affects anybody, because you always have the choice mostly to turn it off. I do think, I listen to Matt's show, and I do think that there are lots of things that are going to twist and turn with regard to Gutenberg or whatever. But more than anything, I think I understand their play to be that they're trying to make the user interface competitive against the sort of up-and-comers, right, that are, I have many graphic designers who come to me and say, I'm just going to use, another page builder, Wix, Weebly, Squarespace, whatever, because I don't need all the other stuff. Well, maybe they want to have that option to get to those designers.
You shouldn't really swear on the program, Wix, please don't do that.
I think one of them just got sold for $300 million, I think, to Square. I forget, it was Wix or Weebly. One of them just
Weebly, it was Weebly, wasn't it?
Right.
God.
So I hope that in doing so, they don't disable the WordPress.org components. Let there be an easy, competitor version, but don't disable the real value, which is undeniably being able to connect all these other services through, this amazing software.
You got a question, Kim?
I do. I have one last one. I love what you're talking about, connecting WordPress with the CRM. And I think that all of us have kind of our one thing in our mind as far as when you're talking about automation through a CRM. Someone comes in, they engage with me, they get tagged, they go into this funnel, that funnel, etc. When they buy this, then they move to another funnel. I think you're even more leading edge than that, though. Where do you see the future? Like, what's next with a CRM that's going to blow all of our minds as far as how we can really deliver to the customer exactly what they want?
I think it's an attention problem. So one of the things when I try to explain to somebody who's a newbie, what exactly is marketing automation, I can use the ping pong ball metaphor, but I also say, have you recently ever been to a website and then every other website you go to, you see that bicycle or pharmaceutical product you were looking at? That's a little thing known as retargeting. And do you ever notice how persistent that remains in your mind, and it sort of reminds you to buy that product or something, or, scream? Either way, I said, that is where I see things going, is that the attention span of people has become so reduced with all the other issues in the media and the computers that we'll need to probably adapt the marketing to, I hope that people's attention span doesn't go into the, less than a millisecond range. But in other words, you won't be able to get away anymore with doing the shenanigans of just traditional email marketing for much longer once people start to feel like everywhere I go. And I want to detour. Did you guys ever see the movie Minority Report? Because it was really scary, but he'd walk along and the signs are all changing and everything that he does, it's all adapted to him. That's a little extreme maybe, but it's not impossible to happen. So somewhere in the balance between don't waste my time and don't freak me out that you're listening to everything I do is probably where all these tools are going to have to live. And if they speak together, that's where the money is to be made for marketers, because you're not going to own all of the features, but you will maybe have one little feature that is a bonus to add on to something else, the birdie on the hippo's back. And for smaller people that don't have a, let's say, venture capital business, it's a great opportunity. I mean, I've seen people make 6-7 figure businesses on things as simple as Keynote templates and things like that. So whatever.
I don't know if you want to discuss this. I don't know. Is that basically what I think, because you saw with your vision, really, Spencer, you attempted to build a page building platform aimed at lower developers with a training, additional resources, plug-in platform yourself before Beaver Builder. I admire you for the ambition, but also you saw business is about timing as well. Do you think you were just a little bit unlucky, or?
I would say your point is absolutely true, and it's also well taken, because that's the lesson to be learned. At 1WD.TV, we were teaching freelance web designers who were stay-at-home moms and dads and former white-collar workers that wanted to do other things how to build websites for business owners, to be a man in the middle. At a time when we were in the earlier days of WordPress, before Squarespace, Wix, Weebly were competitive, before WordPress was really so easy. And so the information that was lacking is very similar to the space of marketing automation today, at the early part of that curve. But every part of the curve has only a limited time frame before it comes and it goes. And we made a great run at it. It was actually a very successful business for the time spent and the money invested. But at a point in 2014, I had to be honest with my base of subscribers. And I said, look, I would be telling you something that was untrue if I said to continue trying to build websites for people, because they could push a button and get a website. Instead, I said, if you're cut out for it, I can teach you how to do marketing automation and how to improve people's sales funnels, because that's perpetual. But I really couldn't continue trying to deliver tools and training to be a web designer, because everybody would be ending up with a failure. It's like the wagon. I'm going to teach you how to build wagon wheels today. Well, good luck. Who's going to buy it? And so that was it. It's not bad timing, but it was the window of time came and went. Just like I don't know a lot of people today with, StarTech phones or Nextel phones or Trios or all, phones came and went like 2 years, and then the next thing was there. Well, in our ecosystem, maybe in 2 years, it'll be holographic projections and we won't be using on-screen web pages anymore. Who knows? But I'll be ready, because the business owners will want to now move to holographic projections.
Yeah, I kind of follow what you're saying here. I don't fully agree with your statement, because I think the divide is which it's probably going to accelerate because of where Automatic want to take this. Is that if you just want to get a website up, like you say, you got Squarespace, you got there's a lot of providers that, like, a few clicks or afternoon, you can get something up. If you really want to get a result from your website, it's a totally different cup of tea, isn't it? That's when speed, optimization, the look of your website, the written content, it's a totally different world, isn't it? So you seem to have these two worlds of a lot of small businesses. They just want to get something up for the cheapest price, and just get it up. And those people that got real online businesses and they want to get results.
Yeah, well, you actually asked me that earlier question about what's a use case. I was alluding to that, but that's exactly your point now. Most of the people who have gone to a platform, one of those calls I had this weekend was a lady who was very knowledgeable about WordPress, but she was making decisions to use Kartra and was asking me, can I merge Kartra, which is a Andy Jenkins platform, with our CM and WordPress? And my answer was really the answer I'm going to tell you now. It's that sometimes you need to buy a ready-made product, right? Sometimes you need to buy something. Go to Costco, get it, and it's not the best at everything, but it has the things you need, and it's just convenient, and it gets you out the door. But there's no way that, unless you have a coder on staff or the budget for it, that anybody could get farther with a more personalized to your business solution than snapping together WordPress. And so I recommended to her and anybody like that, don't try to add Band-Aids to the existing system, because then you end up like one of those, imagine like some bike racer in the Tour de France with a tricycle that has, pinstripes on it. It'd be like, well, get a two-wheeler, right? That's what I'm suggesting, is that the ecosystem does not necessarily mandate that, WordPress is all this or all that for business, but definitely WordPress is the only place you can customize something for your business without necessarily needing a coder. And if you took one of those early ones, you might make $10 million on it, and that's fine. But accept that you'll never escape the features that they give you. Nobody has ever said, oh, sure, one person out of 100,000 says, yes, give me this thing, and so we're going to have our guys code it in tomorrow. That just doesn't happen. But in WordPress, you can almost always code that thing in for your own business, in seconds.
Yeah, I think that's great. We're going to wrap it up before my great co-host melts completely, because she just told me the humidity in Florida is about 90 something. I would actually die. I would die, actually. I'm used to rain and gloom, folks.
Indeed.
That's why I live in sunny Nevada. But it hasn't got that humidity, folks. It's been a great pleasure speaking to you again, Spencer. I think we've covered some amazing content. Thank you so much for agreeing to come on the show. And thank you, Kim, for your support and being my co-host. It's much appreciated. And we're going to wrap it up now, folks, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye, guys.